All right, guys, this is the Caribbean Open match breakdown. So I shot this match a week after shooting the the USA Extreme Open, where I had an unbelievably good match. That match was a very low difficulty, sort of a post up and shoot a lot of targets at different distances, but the difficulty was a bit lower. And I've been trying out a new strategy where basically I'm trying to gamble a lot more, trying to take as many risk options as I can within reason, and then still take measures to control the time. Mainly trying to hit steal. And at that match, that part went fantastic. The story of this whole match, the Caribbean Open, the steal aspect kind of fell off. Started to blur the line between trying to take risks with shooting stuff moving, in a lot of cases trying to shoot steal moving or on the way into positions, and I had a lot of pickups in the steal, and that was the biggest black mark on my match, besides from a couple gun handling things. But without further ado, let's get into it, and we'll see some of the stuff that I could have done better at this match. First stage of the match here, lots of issues happening. Mostly the steal, which you'll see in a second right here. On these talking about the strategy that I'm applying, or we're looking to apply more consistently, I want to shoot aggressively on a lot of the paper, like collect points where it's possible on targets that are out to 15 yards or so, and then even on 6 or 7 factor stages or greater, if I have an open paper, a low risk paper at distance, I'm going to sort of not blow them off, but deliberately gamble on them to like average 50% alphas on that, and then try to control the time by hitting steal the first time. And it's easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself, is what I'm finding, to assign a very specific type of sight picture when you have a target that's like, hey, you absolutely have to hit this with the first shot. It's easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself to see something specific or feel something specific, and then you almost get this sort of sense of control loss when you're not able to control that outcome exactly the way you want to. And that was what I was definitely feeling on this first stage. And these plates, I wanted to see perfection. I wanted to see the actual hunk of material that's on top of the actual fiber itself right there on that plate. And got a little bit too sure of myself once I saw a little bit of sight on this plate, and as you can see, pulled off it right there and had to regrip and represent. And that's just a microcosm of what was really the biggest issue with this entire match for me. So let's cruise through a couple more stages and find some issues where that's continuing to happen. This stage was a really good performance for me. You can see the strategy applied here, like taking these targets as aggressively as I can, pre-aiming in. This target right here, I basically have to jam my foot in this corner that you can see kind of behind my arm in order to get at this target over here. And this is the one target in the stage where I'm like, if I Alpha Charlie this thing, I don't really care, because I'm not going to get a really good view on the target with that wall coming around the corner, and I want to keep my motion going this way on a higher factor stage. And then same thing right there as far as just letting it go at the end. All I needed was a little bit more of a pause to be willing to quote-unquote be slow on these types of plates, and then we would have no issue on the stage. But then, that really fantastic time turns into just a good time with one Charlie, which would have been a great run. Scorecard on this tells the story. Really rough raw points, and it's sort of an on-the-fly strategic change that was not necessarily good. Good there. Right here, I got on this swinger. I was aimed on it a lot earlier than I expected. I thought it would already be halfway down by the time I got my gun on it. So then, mentally, my vision jumped up to where it presented at the top to be like, oh crap, should I just try to take a shot on it there? And then ultimately, by the time I stopped thinking about it, it was where I wanted it to be. So I Charlie delted the swinger. That part was good. You can see the grip opens up on the last target there. Right, you see how much the gun starts to really wobble there, and a wide Charlie on that target. Right there, I had a shot that kissed the edge of the white right here, so I thought I had to throw an extra shot on this right target. And then thinking that I was behind on time subconsciously, I had debated how much of this stuff I was going to shoot moving. I knew that the plan was to take one big step this way and then engage steal, paper on the way into this last position down here. And instead, I just ended up doing a wide transition and trying to walk this stuff down. And that cost me a Charlie on this target, and then just trying to rush to finish got a Charlie on this target. So the raw points is the issue in this case. This stage, the key to success was just hitting the steal the first time. That didn't quite happen, but I did take a lot of speed options, committing to shooting things moving that washed off, I feel, a good amount of the pickup shot time. Stand by. You see the scorecard is very good there with clean points. So this setup here, connect with the first plate, and then, but if you, right here is sort of the area of interest to me. Hit the first plate, and then by the moment that this target right here opens up, I want to be transitioning onto it. And you can see I have to connect with it with one more shot. And so I'm something like a half second behind on time compared to my plan right here. Let's play this back full speed. Reload into the deep back position, take out the 2 paper. And in this array here, basically you have 4 plates, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the outside ones, as you can see, activate these pop-up targets. My plan was to go 1, 2, 3, paper, 1, 2, sorry, scratch that. 1, 2, 3 across the steel, and then 1 paper, steel, paper again. So basically left to right on it. And I ended up just sort of throwing a wild shot at it. Like, I could see a lot more of this popper in the back than I expected to or anticipated during the walkthrough, so I tried to take a shot at that and wasted one off the side. So I got a little bit out of order right there. Again, reload around the corner. Plan was to try to take these drifting back, sort of picking a spot on the ground, like right about here where I knew with one step I would be able to blend back into this next open target. And that obviously worked beautifully. Just that position probably recovered me whatever I lost in the pickup shots in the previous position. So an imperfect performance, but overall taking enough aggressive options that, like, even with small failures, the score ends up being good. Which that I think really accentuates the strategy change I'd like to make this year. Over the last 5 or 6 years, I've always been sort of the type of shooter that's kind of wild and will struggle to not feel like you're being too slow and then push too fast and make mistakes because of it. And this year I want to, I've cultivated a lot of discipline trying to beat that out of myself. But this year I want to try to take more of those aggressive options so that I can basically make the same number of small mistakes as I normally would, but still end up ahead. Because the more pressure I put on myself to try to shoot a quote-unquote perfect match with no extra shots, no Charlies, yada yada, that ends up ultimately just degrading the quality of the performance when I'm not able to perfectly control the outcome. So trying to be more aggressive and be non-judgmental in making mistakes and take more strategic risk that I can manage in smart ways. Let's look at a couple more stages here. So continuing to talk about like the gambling mindset, right? It's a good example of it right here. Plate, paper. Into this position right here, we have a very far plate that's probably something like 18 or 20 yards away. It's only like an 8-inch plate. The first shot on this I'm going to deliberately take before my feet are completely stopped moving. Rationale being, if it takes me a half second extra to re-aim and re-engage that plate and get basically between the 2 shots, it's like 170% chance of hitting the plate. So as long as I take that first shot on it a whole half second early, basically the amount of time it would take me to engage it normally, then I'm taking a risk that's going to pay off. In this case, probably 60% of the time, and it's not going to cost me anything. So I'm doing this in as many cases as I possibly can. If I have an opportunity to throw the gun up on a target and shoot on it early in a manner that's likely to work out, then I'm going to do it pretty much every single time. Moving forward from there, didn't know how many rounds I had the gun, had to throw a reload. Luckily, it didn't cost me anything in this case because I had plenty of space. But by taking these risks, like the worst case scenario where I make small risks and just don't be judgmental about it in the moment, the worst case scenario in many cases will be better than the best case scenario, trying to take a more tightly controlled, perfect performance kind of an approach, if that makes sense. This is moving on to the afternoon relay from day one. This stage was pretty well fine. I knew I made some silly mistakes in the morning, so I just wanted to shoot this one pretty clean and careful. Reversing out of this position, take these down careful, get in deep. Very small far plate right there, extra shot there. Coming into this position again, just tight controlled shooting. Easy plates, but with no shoots behind them in the corner. Move in on the tucks, another extra on the far plate, and finish. So very vanilla neutral performance for me, nothing exciting, nothing bad, nothing great. This stage was pretty good, had to snatch the gun off the table. Basically save a little bit of time right here because I wanted a wide transition and basically shoot this target on the way over rather than moving and then representing. So this, you can't really see when I pause it and talk a bunch, but this transition through the back was very fast. Reload to the front. plate moving. This target is on the wide transition for the tip out. And you can see right there, right, as soon as I finish this target, I have to get my foot exactly there to be able to see this target and the one that's off screen over here. So hit this target and do a little blind spot check to make sure my foot lands where I want. And again, not a perfect performance, but really nothing wrong with that. A couple more Charlies than I would have. This is moving on to the afternoon relay from day one. This stage was pretty well fine. I knew I'd made some silly mistakes in the morning, so I just wanted to shoot this one pretty clean and careful. Reversing out of this position, take these down careful, get in deep. Very small far plate right there, extra shot there. Coming into this position again, just tight controlled shooting. Easy plates, but with no shoots behind them in the corner. Move in on the tucks, another extra on the far plate, and finish. So very vanilla neutral performance for me. Nothing exciting, nothing bad, nothing great. You can see a couple over transitions and stuff like that here, but otherwise, again, a very good performance. This is what I would consider to be a survival stage with some really tight penalty targets out at distance, and you'll see some over transitions here. A little bit of trigger freeze after rack the gun. Forehand's not quite in the right position. You see fighting to get at that position. And this stage is really set up to like make that happen. Like unless you absolutely smash this foot positioning, you're not going to be able to do a straight transition up to here and have the target exactly where you want it. Power into here. You see another over transition on both of these coming into this position. Over transition, reload, smash the low guys, and another fight to find that target back there. So good, clean. Really nothing noteworthy to say about this. It was a 16-round stage, strong hand only on some swingers. So I had 0 extra shots. So you see fairly careful shooting here all the way across to try to shoot the gun empty and shoot no extras.
Stand by.
This stage was, I chose the wrong plan was the biggest issue here. The actual shooting performance I felt was really, really solid. And you can see in the corner and as we go through, like the terrain is very bad. It got very slippery over the course of some on and off rain all day. So I'm just around some of the corners and stuff, I move a little bit slower than I would have loved to, but that's just out of necessity. And the shooting performance was fast, aggressive, hit the steel the first time. I have no complaints at all. But the plan was objectively bad. I started in the back corner here and worked my way to the front. And then jumped all the way to the other back corner so I could shoot the whole stage back to front, basically working forward. After seeing other people's runs with worse executions but doing the other plan, they would start in this corner, basically go back to front in the branch that I'm about to do, and then go run back to where I started and continue. And that plan was roughly 1.5 to 2 seconds faster, like no question. I saw people that had, standing reloads, get staggering on pickup shots on plates, and they produced the same time as me with my perfect execution. So it was a little bit annoying that the wrong plan here actually did matter. It doesn't usually matter very much, but sometimes it does.